The Republicans have for many months now put on a pedestal a hard-right group whose name unintentionally evokes an action that cannot be described on television. In our number one story in the countdown, the GOP has now, with a little help from us, officially co-opted the word teabagger. It is a runner-up for Oxford's Word of the Year. Rare that an evolution in a word's etymology can be observed in real time with such satisfaction, but it was Republicans who embraced the tea bag as their symbol with tax day protests of President Obama's agenda. And it was Republicans who cluelessly referred to teabagging as if it had no prior meaning. It was they who openly used a phrase that begged for double entendres. Countdown April 14th, Teabag Eve. Republican talking heads like former House Speaker Newt Gingrich have pushed their own vision of teabagging down the throats of the original teabaggers, who were in fact libertarian supporters of Ron Paul. Cincinnati teabaggers down to the mouth about taxes got a Boehner endorsement from the House Minority Leader. And the nation's teabagging, of course, impossible without this man, a Dick Armey at the head of it. Teabagger used as a noun was the natural result. And it just goes to show you, if you use the word teabagger over and over, it eventually, sometimes swiftly, takes on a brand new meaning somehow. But first, the entry that Oxford University Press chose as Word of the Year 2009, unfriend. As in, I decided to unfriend Newt Gingrich on my Facebook page after he supported Didi Scozafava. Although, the youngsters on the staff have informed me that defriend is the more common term for that. So there might be another vote on this. Or protest with teabaggers. But the most notable runner-up for the new Oxford American Dictionary is teabagger, which Oxford defines as, quote, oh goodness, a person who protests President Obama's tax policies and stimulus package, often through local demonstrations known as Tea Party protests, in allusion to the Boston Tea Party of 1773. Some of the other most recognizable runners-up for Word of the Year, birther and death panel, both of those courtesy of the teabaggers and their ilk, and from other categories, sexting, sexually explicit texts, and deleb, dead celebrity. Confess I hadn't heard that one. Let's turn now to MSNBC political analyst, author of Renegade, Richard Wolffe, also senior strategist at Public Strategies. Richard, good evening.
Good evening, Keith.
Teabagger, the noun, teabagger is part of the political fabric. I think Countdown deserves at least a footnote of credit, if credit's the right word, for a particular evolution of etymology, don't you?
Well, I do think my friends at Oxford may have a tea fixation. At least I hope it's that and not the other thing. In any case, there is this tradition at the OUP, the Oxford University Press, that you can write in and claim usage, first usage, which you may or may not want to do. You could also suggest World's Worst Person to have its own entry, which may be a preferable way to get into the annals of political science.
With all due respect to Oxford University Press, its definition has scrubbed away the prior meaning of the word, and in so doing, the attendant cluelessness of those who embrace this word in its new meaning. Is this going to impede future historians, both of the language and of the politics of our times?
Well, it's a family book. I suppose there is that consideration out there. But you know, there are other ways they can commemorate this whole thing, and that's what the internet is particularly good for. So I'm hoping the history of this goes beyond just the very hard book that is the Oxford University Press dictionary. Right.
Now, on a more serious note, as news of the day becomes history, what will teabaggers become most known for? For fracturing the Republican Party, or offering a welcome home to a new and ugly strain of racism, deliberately or not? What is this word actually going to mean, 100 years from now?
Well, here's a point of similarity with Sarah Palin. And just to be serious for a moment, there is this uncontrollable factor, undisciplined factor about the whole movement, which I think is a kind of weapon of mass destruction about the Republican Party. This is not a movement, and she is not a potential candidate that is really interested in anything other than themselves, the spectacle. And so organizing around this loose collection of stuff is not the same as organizing for an election or for victory. And that's something the Republican Party is going to have to grapple with.
And yet they're already grappling with this in the way that the left used to be made fun of, the Trotskyites and the Leninites and all the rest of this, and those who adhered to different arguments over which word should go in front of another in some quotation from Marx or someone like him. With many famous, sometimes infamous movements, there is already disagreement amongst these teabaggers over who the true teabaggers are and who are the poseurs. Will that be settled anytime soon?
This is about ideological purity, just as it was on the left, and it was as divisive then as it is now. You know, this is not, again, a path to victory, but if it's any consolation, they should just let it steep for a little longer, and maybe the brew will become just the potent force they hope it is.
Well, now, but what prevents, in politics or in anything else, that reduction to the natural conclusion, which is that if it's about ideological purity, don't you eventually just get left with one person in the movement because no two people agree on everything all the time?
Well, it's certainly not the path they took in the Reagan years, which is what Palin says she wants to celebrate. You know, if they are going to drive people out of the party who can get elected, people like Charlie Crist in Florida, then you know, they are really hurting themselves and hurting their own party. In the end, though, they're not interested in the party. This is an anti-incumbent mood. It's as if the mood for change, the desire for change, just wasn't satisfied in 2008, and they're taking it on themselves. Look, who knows where it leads, but it isn't good for Republican candidates, and if they have any national ambitions, then they will see this force for what it is.
Well, now we know why Sarah Palin resigned, so she wouldn't be an incumbent. Richard Wolffe of MSNBC, author of Renegade, also with Public Strategies. As always, great thanks.
Thank you, Keith.